The shocking story about Mike Wolf, the famous star of the show American Pickers, shocked the whole country when pictures of him being handcuffed and escorted went viral. The online community was immediately shocked, and many people wondered if this had anything to do with an antiques dispute or a secret conflict with the History Channel. But the truth is more complicated, confusing, and scary than any public speculation. Unexpected secrets and details will slowly come out. Find out in today's video. If this story surprises you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video to learn more about the dramatic events behind the TV show American Picker. The sentence for the American Picker star shocked people all over the country when pictures of him being handcuffed and led away went viral on social media. At first, many people thought that his arrest might have something to do with business or an antiques dispute. Based on the first information that got around, there were problems with the History Channel. However, new reports say that the truth about what happened has shocked people even more. Mike Wolf was arrested on charges of being involved in the mysterious death of Fritz, who was his former co-host on the show American Pickers. Initially, Fritz's death was thought to be caused by natural causes, but an investigation later changed the case to a murder. A medical report showed extremely high levels of narcotics in Fritz's body, which raised suspicions of poisoning. According to prosecutors, Wolf caused Fritz to overdose on drugs on purpose, which was an especially bad crime because Fritz was a close friend and trusted him completely. The incident has caused a split in public opinion. Some think it was a carefully planned crime, while others think the tensions between Wolf and Fritz have been a publicity stunt for the show for a long time. Either way, Wolf could be arrested and charged with increasingly serious crimes. The charges say that the incident happened out of jealousy and greed, which is a dangerous way to get revenge. However, there was a surprise turn of events when the initial charges were temporarily dropped pending further investigation. A social media post revealed new information that Wolf was arrested soon after an American Picker team member drove him to Fritz's house when the body was found. Iowa State Police quickly expanded their investigation and gathered key evidence, including Wolf's fingerprints were found on a medicine bottle, and Fritz received some strange texts just before he died. The investigation into Fritz's death began when medical examiners found mistakes in the initial toxicology report. Even though a stroke was officially the cause of death, the autopsy showed that Fritz had a lot more prescription drugs in his system than was considered safe. This was very strange for a man who was known for strictly following his doctor's orders during his illness. Authorities in Iowa started to figure out who was with Fritz in his last hours. What they found shocked not only the investigators but also Fritz's longtime and former close friends. The case is now more than just a reality TV show sensation. It's a legal mystery with no final answer. Surveillance footage from Fritz's neighborhood showed an amazing detail. Mike Wolf's car was seen driving around near him. Supposedly seen near Fritz's house on the terrible night, just hours before Wolf called 911 to say he had gone to check on an old friend and found Fritz not responding. When paramedics arrived, they saw no signs of life and, despite their best efforts, Fritz was pronounced dead at the scene. At first, many people thought Fritz's death was caused by complications from a previous stroke, but toxicology results raised more questions for investigators. The medical signs did not support the initial theory. This made the case even more complicated, especially as more information came to light. Instead of honoring his longtime friend Fritz, Mike Wolf shocked everyone when, within 48 hours of Fritz's death, he called the dead man's lawyer to talk about getting permission to use Fritz's name and image in American Pickers products. Wolf is also said to have gone to a number of storage facilities to look for valuable items. Some members of the crew were confused because Wolf seemed too focused on property and copyright issues and not showing any signs of grief, which is what you would expect in this situation. The investigation was then expanded, and Wolf's home and office were searched. There, investigators found a number of unlabeled bottles of pills with ingredients similar to those found in Fritz's body. However, it was a notebook that stood out the most. Wolf's personal belongings contained several notes in which he vented his frustration and anger at Fritz. Some of the notes suggested that their relationship had been tense for a long time, with increasingly heated language. One note, written just weeks before the incident, made me think he thought he could come back and take back half the limelight. But without me, the show wouldn't exist. There was only one way to protect what I had built. During the 6-week trial, Wolf stayed calm as the prosecution presented their case. The prosecution showed evidence of Wolf's online searches, which included questions about drug interactions and how to make a death look like a medical problem. They said that Wolf used Fritz's existing health problems to carry out a detailed plan to take full control of the show. However, Wolf's defense lawyers say that all the evidence is weak and that there is no proof that this was done on purpose. The case is still being looked at, and more details are likely to come out in the future. What is the final verdict? Americans are still waiting for answers. Former cast members of American Pickers have talked about how Mike Wolf and Frank Fritz's relationship got worse in the last few years before Fritz left the show and later died. For example, a production assistant said that Wolf and Fritz had heated arguments over creative control and the future direction of the show. Wolf also said that Fritz didn't deserve a fair share of the profits after his health problems. Several witnesses said that Wolf was controlling and often criticized Fritz in front of network executives, which made Fritz gradually cut off from longtime friends in the antiques community. Perhaps the most moving detail came from Danielle Colby, who reluctantly testified that she had brought up the idea of a reconciliation between the two, but Wolf got angry and told her to stay out of it. Colby also said that she had found strange notes about Fritz's medication schedule in Wolf's. Wolf told the police that he was just worried about his old friend Fritz's health. The defense said that it was all a misunderstanding and that Wolf had really tried to fix his relationship with Fritz. They used public statements from Wolf showing support for Fritz's recovery. However, testimony from Fritz's personal doctor gave a different picture. The doctor said that Fritz was actually feeling better and planning to start his own business, and he insisted that he had not prescribed heavy doses of. As the trial went on, the tension in the room rose. When asked directly about his part in what happened, Wolf's calm started to break. The climax came when he suddenly stood up and yelled, "You don't understand what it's like to build something from scratch, and then watch someone else take all the credit on TV. People think he and I are equally important to this show." Wolf's lawyers had to call a break to calm down. But one juror said that moment changed the way they thought about how tense things had been between the two for years. At the hearing, financial experts were also asked to talk about Wolf's businesses. Some accountants said that while Fritz was recovering, Wolf restructured his companies and added clauses that gave Wolf full control over his intellectual property if Fritz died. Wolf allegedly bought a $5 million business insurance policy with his company named as the beneficiary. The prosecution also showed proof that several valuable antiques that Fritz used to own were transferred into new shell companies worth a total of more than $2 million. Fritz did not know about these companies. After looking at all the evidence, the jury only took 4 hours to come to a decision. Wolf was found guilty and given a life sentence without the possibility of parole. The mood in the courtroom became unbearably tense. At that very moment, Wolf lost it in a way that had never been seen before. He stood up and yelled in the middle of the courtroom, "You don't understand. He's going to destroy everything. My legacy, my legacy." Wolf lost control and stomped out of his seat, knocking over papers and objects on the defense table. Security forces stepped in right away, but the situation quickly got out of hand. Wolf tried to talk to the Fritz family and court staff had to do their best to stop him. In the middle of the chaos, Wolf picked up a neck brace, which was evidence from the trial, and used it in an unexpected way, which led to a more aggressive response from the police team. The 3 officers had to work together to keep the situation under control while Wolf keeps screaming about the years of hurt and betrayal he's been through. The judge has to leave the courtroom, which is now in chaos. Fritz's sister is taken away for safety, and many of the former American Picker crew members can't hold back their tears. This is not how anyone thought the trial would end. The emotional high point comes when Wolf turns to Danielle Colby, a longtime co-worker, and yells, "Tell them the truth. Tell them who." Frank Colby doesn't answer. He just turns away in silence. He is clearly torn between the past and the present. Outside of the media and fans were still shocked when court documents revealed a shocking fact. Wolf had secretly recorded crew conversations that could shed light on the true reasons and feelings behind his tense relationship with Fritz. In the last few minutes before he was led away, Wolf continued to yell angry words. "I want to start my own show. I'm old. The TV station wants him back. I'm old. And I don't want to start my own show, and I'm old." The trial seemed like the end of a fight, but it actually revealed a deep tragedy about friendship betrayal and the desire to own a TV legacy that was built by 2 people with a common passion. Since the courtroom drama, many of Wolf's friends and former co-workers have spoken out, giving new information about the man behind the scenes. For example, Thomas Reynolds, a former producer of American Pickers, said that Wolf had violent emotional outbursts when things didn't go his way. Off camera, Wolf may have been a very down-to-earth person, but Reynolds said that some cast members said he was becoming more suspicious and paranoid, thinking that his former co-star Frank Fritz was planning to return to TV with a rival show. Wolf's inability to deal with these complicated feelings over the years seems to have caused him to have a breakdown that can't be fixed. Legal and mental health professionals have suggested that Wolf may have developed signs of narcissistic personality disorder, a condition that can leave sufferers. Both people saw them as charming and charismatic in public, but they were angry and felt betrayed in their private lives. The incident quickly sent shockwaves through the reality TV community. The History Channel pulled all episodes starring Wolf and said they were sorry for the Fritz family and would look into the whole production process. Several major sponsors also pulled their support, which casts a huge shadow over the future of American Pickers. A lawsuit was filed to protect his antique collection and intellectual property rights. They said they would continue to honor Frank's memory and hold those responsible for letting Wolf's bad behavior go on for so long. This case is a clear example of the conflict between public image and inner turmoil, said forensic psychologist Dr. Robert Keller. Narcissists can be very convincing and charming, but they can also be driven by trauma and a desire to control their image. To Wolf's use of social media to change public opinion after Frank Fritz's death was one of the most controversial topics. Through tears, he talked about his loss and slowly revealed his new personal project, which many saw as an attempt to distract and win back public sympathy. This is not just a personal tragedy, it is a case of deception of millions of viewers, as prosecutor Sarah Donovan stressed during the trial. Those who mourned with Mr. Wolf now have to face the painful truth. Investigative documents also showed that more than $1 million was raised right after Fritz's death, with most of the money going into accounts that only Wolf could access. These new details raised more questions about the real reasons behind Wolf's emotional actions and public statements. When he was given his life sentence, the public no longer saw the passionate, approachable collector who had been close to millions of viewers. Instead, they saw a completely different person. Robert Jenkins, a loyal American Pickers viewer, said, "We feel betrayed not only by Wolf's actions but also by the long journey of deception welcoming him into our homes on the small screen every week." For millions of viewers, the Wolf's image as a man passionate about history and preserving heritage seemed to be a carefully concealed mask hiding a truth that left many stunned. The tragedy not only shocked the public but also created there is a deep rift in the show's crew. Some still believe Wolf is innocent, while others have chosen to stand on the side of justice. Danielle Colby, who played Wolf's longtime partner on the show, decided to take a break from acting and say in a short statement, "I need time to heal and reflect. I hope that my love for heritage and culture will continue to grow." Despite the heartache that has occurred, many of the remaining cast members have remained silent in public, choosing to retreat from the spotlight while they are still processing the loss and shock of the former star of the show's conviction. The judge said, "Mr. Wolf, for many years you have portrayed yourself as a custodian of history, someone who brings the light of the past to the present. But behind those inspiring words there was an unexpected darkness today. Justice is not just for Frank Fritz, but for all those who believed in him." This was Wolfen's last public appearance before he was officially sentenced. The scene ended a controversial part of reality TV history, but the story is far from over. If you found this video interesting, please share it to get the truth out to more people. Also, don't forget to like, support, and subscribe to make sure you don't miss the next updates. We will keep following this case and bring you the newest and most shocking details. Richard Harrison, a businessman and TV personality known for his straightforwardness and savvy, is in serious legal trouble. He has suddenly found himself at the center of a shocking story. For years, Pawn Stars has captivated viewers with its dramatic negotiations and unpredictable situations at Harrison's famous pawn shop in Las Vegas. But now, the once hilarious show has taken a dark turn, leaving viewers with many questions about what is really going on with Richard Harrison and why. The news has left fans confused and even making them question everything they thought they knew about the man. Richard Kevin Harrison was born on March 22, 1965 in Lexington, North Carolina. When he was 2 years old, his family moved to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. As a child, he had seizures, which meant he spent a lot of time at home reading, learning about historical figures, and getting lost in stories. Richard Harrison, founder of the famous gold and silver pawn shop, has had an impressive journey in both his life and career, even though his childhood wasn't the best. His big break came later when he went on reality TV and shared his story about the pawn shop business and built a professional image that people loved. However, his journey is now facing an unexpected challenge. A whole new chapter is opening, but not in the way anyone expected. Smooth, especially since he had to deal with epilepsy. Richard never gave up on his dreams and desire to learn, even though he missed a lot of school and dropped out in his second year of high school. That didn't stop him from continuing to study on his own by reading and self-studying. He was especially interested in history and business, two subjects that helped him build his career. Through hard work and initiative, Richard turned his childhood problems into motivation, building a strong foundation for the future. When he was in his teens, he started working on small business projects with his father, where he quickly learned how to value and authenticate valuable items, skills that would later be very important in the pawn industry. When he was 17, Richard married his girlfriend Kim after finding out she was pregnant. They had 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before their marriage ended after 8 years. In 1981, Richard's family moved to Las Vegas. Richard Benjamin Harrison, better known as the Old Man, opened a gold and coin shop. This was the start of the famous gold and silver pawn shop. When the Harrisons realized that pawnbroking made more money than just trading coins, they changed their business model. However, the early years were not easy. Richard and his father had to work hard, dealing with difficult customers in stressful situations. These real-life experiences helped Richard improve his negotiation skills and build his reputation. Richard Harrison started to make a name for himself in Las Vegas in the early 2000s by offering his exceptional skills in valuing collectibles and historical artifacts. His family's pawn shop quickly became famous for its unique, high-value items, drawing attention from both locals and tourists from all over the world. Realizing the store's entertainment potential, Rick came up with the idea of bringing the shop's daily operations to TV, even though he was turned down several times. Pawn Stars finally started airing in 2009 after a lot of hard work and dedication. The show was based on real events at Richard's gold and silver pawn shop, where he and his family bought and sold cultural and historical artifacts and antiques. Pawn Stars quickly became a TV phenomenon, turning Richard from a pawn shop owner into a nationally known reality star. Rick's catchphrases, like "the best I can do is when negotiating with customers," have become a trademark of the show. One thing that makes Pawn Stars stand out is that it cleverly includes educational elements. Each episode not only features exciting deals, but also goes into detail about the history, origin, and true value of the items. Richard regularly shares his extensive knowledge of the artifacts, which helps viewers better understand the historical context. This approach has helped the show attract a large audience and become one of the most popular shows on the History Channel. Under Richard's direction, the gold and silver pawn shop has grown and become a famous spot where people come from all over the world to meet the show's stars or try their luck at being in an episode. The huge success of Pawn Stars not only raised Richard's profile, but it also gave him many new opportunities, such as writing books, appearing in other TV shows, and opening his own restaurant. Richard slowly built his diverse business empire with his growing fame. Reality TV star Richard Harrison has become one of the most well-known and influential figures in the business. He has been on many popular talk shows and is often asked to speak at major events and conferences. His career has gone beyond the image of a pawn shop owner, becoming a symbol of business acumen and the ability to build an impressive personal brand in the entertainment, music industry. Harrison's journey shows how important it is to keep going even when things get hard. Despite facing many problems in his life, he always kept his goals in mind, kept going, and eventually achieved amazing success. Pawn Stars not only made Richard an icon in the reality TV industry, but it also became an inspiring story about how he turned problems into opportunities and challenges into motivation to rise up. Richard stands out because he can see the hidden value in things that most people would overlook. This was a key trait that made his career so successful, and Pawn Stars was the perfect platform for Richard can appraise anything from historical artifacts to rare collectibles with a sharp eye and amazing accuracy. His excellent negotiating and valuation skills have helped the gold and silver store grow quickly. One of his most memorable purchases was a New England Patriots Super Bowl ring for $1,600, which later sold for a much higher price. Richard not only kept his pawn shop business going, but he also continued to grow his investment portfolio. Opening Rick's Rollin' Smoke Biggie in the bar next door showed his strategic vision and boundless entrepreneurial spirit. He also co-wrote the book License to Pawn, Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which gave readers a look into his life work and business philosophy. Always looking for ways to build his personal brand, Richard kept bringing his name closer to the public while impressively growing his business empire. Despite his great success in business, Richard's personal life has been through a lot of changes. After his first marriage ended in divorce, he remarried Tracy Harrison and was happily married for 27 years before getting divorced in 2011. 2 years later, he married Deanna Burdick in a small ceremony officiated by his co-star Danny Coker from Counting Cars. Even though Richard is famous, he has kept his family life pretty private, only sharing a little about it on the show. Through these simple moments, viewers can see how much he loves his family. The singer has always tried to balance work, fame, and personal life. His path hasn't always been easy, but that's what shows how strong and complex his character is. In 2023, Richard Harrison was in a serious crisis when his home and store were suddenly searched by FBI agents, IRS investigators, and representatives from the Cultural Heritage Protection Agency. This was part of a months-long investigation that left his fans and close friends shocked. Police took computers, documents, and many items from the store and temporarily detained several customers and employees for questioning. During this shocking event, Richard stayed calm and careful. Pictures of the scene quickly went viral on social media as some neighbors recorded them on their phones. No one expected to be in such a situation, but Richard's ability to stay calm showed how strong he was. Richard's biggest loss was his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, who was known as Benjamin. As the old man died, Rick expressed his deep gratitude and desire to continue to uphold the values that his father built while working at the gold and silver pawn shop. The close relationship between father and son is not only a solid family foundation, but it is also reflected in the long-term and respectful cooperation at the shop. Richard Harrison's career is not only a business success story, but it has also been a journey of many ups and downs marked by difficult but meaningful choices from work-family to Richard is a well-known and respected figure in both the entertainment industry and the business world. However, things took a turn for the worse when he was accused of being involved in a complicated financial scheme. Authorities believe that he purposely undervalued historical artifacts to lower taxes and then resold them through private channels at much higher prices. A former employee revealed the scheme, showing that Richard used a separate accounting system. He is also accused of buying questionable artifacts like historical documents and items that used to be in museums and private collections. Richard's lawyers quickly denied the claims, saying that the whole investigation was just a misunderstanding that would be cleared up soon. But as the investigation went on, some interesting evidence started to come to light, such as encrypted messages, financial documents, and statements from former employees who said that Richard asked them to change information and paperwork to hide transactions that weren't authorized. One of the most important pieces of evidence is a series of text messages between him and an unnamed supplier in which he is said to have talked about how to clean up the source of a document that was allegedly stolen from a university archive. He is also accused of planning transactions so that he wouldn't have to report too much cash, which raises more questions about how honest his business really is. Richard has maintained his innocence, saying that he was targeted because of his fame and personal views. A group of dedicated fans have spoken out in support of him, even organizing protests and social media campaigns under the hashtag #FreeRichard to call for justice. The case shows a big gap in public opinion between those who believe he is innocent and those who question the legitimacy of his business. Despite legal and public pressure, Richard has stayed strong and continues to fight to protect despite the criticism and legal investigation. Richard has kept up his image as a moral businessman, regularly going on talk shows to deny the accusations. However, the pawn shop has been hit hard, with sales dropping as many customers become wary of the claims. The long legal battle has taken a toll, not only on Richard but also on the entire cast and crew of Pawn Stars, which led to the History Channel suspending production. Despite the pressure, Richard has continued to face and deal with the allegations, but the incident also showed a less well-known side of Richard Harrison, a more practical and cunning Richard Harrison than the public usually sees. In these kinds of situations, he needs empathy and fairness, and his fans have always been by his side. But as more details come out and the legal arguments get more complicated, it's clear that the effect on his public image and the future of his business will continue. Richard Harrison's trial was met with Richard had a lot of support from his family and close friends. His son Corey went to court with an emotional face, and his longtime friend Chum Lee tried to be there every day, even though he had to leave the courtroom several times because of his feelings. When the verdict was announced, it caused a stir, especially among lawyers who said that Richard's sentence was too harsh for financial crimes. However, the judge said that the sentence not only showed how bad the financial behavior was, but also showed how serious the behavior was. Even though Richard was known as a history buff and defender, his actions were seen as part of a pattern of stealing and destroying priceless cultural items for personal gain. This made the sentence especially harsh. Right after the verdict, Richard's lawyers quickly filed an appeal, saying that the sentence was too harsh, unfair for a peaceful act, and asked that he be freed on bail. While he waits for his appeal, which the court turned down, things got tense when Richard was handcuffed in court. The video of him being led away quickly went viral on social media, getting a lot of media attention. Richard's fans were angry about the sentence, and many expressed doubts about the fairness of the justice system. However, experts in heritage conservation praised the decision as a big step towards stopping the trafficking of illicit artifacts. A campaign called *Hearts for Harrison was started to ask for a new trial because Richard's sentence was too harsh compared to other similar cases. In response to public pressure, the History Channel, whose show Pawn Stars had become a reality TV icon, officially cut ties with Richard Harrison. They not only canceled the show, but they also took down all reruns and released a statement saying they were deeply disappointed and reaffirmed their commitment to protecting cultural heritage. Although there was a scandal, there is no doubt that Richard Harrison had a huge effect on reality TV and the pawn business before it happened. Before the scandal, Harrison was a model of a successful businessman who built a global brand from his family's pawn shop. Pawn Stars not only brought pawn shops to the small screen, but they also changed the way people thought about history and antiques, giving reality TV a new feel. However, a series of mistakes and breaking the law led to his downfall. Richard Harrison's harsh sentence not only hurt him personally, but it also had serious effects on his family and business. Despite these setbacks, the Harrison family, especially his son Corey, stayed strong and are slowly rebuilding their reputation and business. While the gold and silver pawn shop is still a popular place in Las Vegas, a lot of people have stopped going there since the verdict. In an effort to change his image, Corey Harrison has focused on being honest in his dealings and has actively partnered with other businesses. His company has made it easier for museums and schools to teach people about ethical antique collecting. They have also admitted that mistakes in the past were painful lessons learned and promised to be a part of the solution to protect heritage in the future. In a recent interview, Chum Lee, Richard's longtime friend and regular on Pawn Stars, told his emotional story. He said that while he learned a lot from Richard about running a business, he had to face the fact that Richard had a darker side to his personality and actions that he hadn't seen or been brave enough to face. These confessions show how complicated Chum Lee and Richard's relationship is and how each member of the Harrison family is facing their own dark sides in their careers and in their personal lives. Despite what happened, the Harrison family has received a lot of support from Pawn Stars fans. Corey said that messages of support from all over the world were a huge source of strength for the family. Small things, like the weekly prayer circle in front of the pawn shop or the letters and photos sent by fans, helped Richard find spiritual strength during his darkest times. Once a sign of success and a well-known face on reality TV, Richard Harrison is now facing the harsh reality of becoming a scandalous public figure. This sudden change has shocked not only his family but also society as a whole. Many cultural critics have compared Richard's fall to a Shakespearean tragedy. A smart man who used to know a lot about historical values makes bad choices that destroy his own reputation. His story is a strong reminder of how fragile reputations are and how blurred the lines are between business sense and behavior that can cross legal lines. While Richard was creative and talented in building his pawn empire, he paid a high price for his unethical choices. This is a clear example of how success is meaningless without morals and work ethics. While Richard is facing the consequences of the Harrison family, led by Corey Harrison, has kept working to rebuild and renew their business. Corey is now working to keep the gold and silver pawn shop an important part of the Las Vegas community. They have made many changes to make sure that transactions are more open, legal, and moral than ever before. Even though they don't have as many customers as they used to, the Harrison family's willingness to learn and their determination to start over show that they are not avoiding reality, but are slowly adjusting to it, facing the consequences while trying to fix their reputation and start over with more stable values, music. Despite the hardships the Harrison family is going through, there has been an outpouring of support from the Pawn Stars fan community. Support groups have been set up on social media sites asking people to send Richard handwritten letters, cards, and words of encouragement. The Harrison family has also created a website where fans can send messages directly to Richard in prison. The family is starting this project to thank their fans for sticking by them during this tough time. They say that the supportive words from the community have given Richard hope and strength during his darkest days. For Richard, the love from his fans has never been more clear. Knowing that you are still there for him means a lot, the family said in a statement. Every word of encouragement, positive thought, and prayer not only made him stronger but also a testament. Despite his legal problems and unimaginable life changes, Richard's journey continues to be a complicated and difficult one. He went from being a humble pawnbroker to a famous businessman, and then caught in the crossfire of bad decisions. His story is a powerful lesson in the short-lived nature of fame, the allure of success, and the terrible things that can happen when you're not paying attention. While Richard faces life in prison, his family is working hard to free him. They hope for a better future, not only to fix their bad reputation but also to set up a strong foundation for the next generation. The love and support from their fans keeps them going, even when things get hard. If Richard's story has made you think, don't forget to share this video with your friends, like it, support the channel, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. There's a lot more to find out. Talk to you next time.